The Oklahoma City Thunder took down the Dallas Mavericks in Game 1 of their playoff matchup behind a 29-point performance from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a defensive game plan that allowed them to minimize Dallas's ability to generate high-percentage offense. Dallas had the 7th best half-court offense in the league after the All-Star break, scoring 102.9 points per 100 possessions, but OKC held them to only 83.2 points per 100 half-court possessions in Game 1, while OKC themselves scored 105 points per 100 half-court possessions. So let's take a look at how they did it. Before we jump into it, a quick word from today's sponsor, Fitbod. If you're anything like me, then headphones are an essential part of any workout, but the essential that your workout really needs is Fitbod. Fitbod is a fitness app that adapts to you as you improve. Fitbod makes it way easier to see your progress regardless of where you're at on your fitness journey. It's like having your own personal trainer, but it's way cheaper and you can work out anywhere with or without equipment. And it's super simple to follow a fully customized workout plan tailored for you. I'm not a member at a gym, I don't have access to a ton of fancy equipment, but Fitbod takes all of the frustrating parts around planning a workout and they make it super simple. And if you're anything like me, then you don't really want to spend 2 hours in the gym anytime you need to work out. So that's why I really like their high intensity interval training, because I can get a workout done in as little as 30 minutes. Fitbod also tracks your muscle recovery to make sure that you don't overdo it and end up getting burnt out. Add Fitbod to your workout essentials. Join today and get your personalized workout plan. Get 25% off your subscription or try the app free at fitbod.me/AlexHoops. That's fitbod.me/AlexHoops. Thanks again to Fitbod for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to it. One of Dallas's go-to plays is the double drag, where Derrick Jones Jr. will set an initial screen and Gafford will set up for a pick and roll on the second screen. OKC is going to use this 1-2-2 zone where they essentially have Dort guarding this area of the floor, J-Dub and Shai covering the wings in this area, and Chet and Giddey pulled in off of the corners guarding these areas. The goal of this zone is to allow passes along the wings while preventing passes inside. So Shai prevents Luka from making use of this Gafford screen, while Dort hangs around the middle to make sure that Luka can't feed him on the roll. When Gafford is down low, notice how Chet and Giddey aren't pulled out on the shooters, instead focused on disrupting the pass inside whenever it inevitably comes, and then they're able to force the turnover. Here it is again, where 𝙖𝙗𝙗𝙪 is going to use this dribble handoff to get into the double drag, and notice that 𝙖𝙗𝙗 Joe isn't worried about a pass to 𝙖𝙗𝙗𝙗, and Hayward comes completely off of the corner to be there when Gafford gets the ball to make sure that there's a body there to defend when he tries to go up for the finish, and it forces the miss. Now, even though it ended in a miss, Dallas realizes that they just need to get it to Gafford inside the arc near the high post, and he's likely going to end up with a smaller defender on him like he does here, and then he's able to finish over top of Jalen Williams. The name of the game for OKC's defensive philosophy is turnover generation. This was the case for them in the regular season. They want to force you into making as many mistakes as humanly possible. On this possession, when Kyrie gets going downhill coming off the screen, notice how Shai is going to dig off of PJ Washington and disrupt Kyrie on his gather, and it forces Kyrie to lose the ball out of bounds, and OKC ends up with possession. Obviously, OKC wants to get the ball out of Luka's hands as much as possible, so Cason Wallace is going to come and send the double team here, and that immediately triggers the rotation from J-Dub to come and close out on Tim Hardaway Jr., and Wallace then knows that it's his job to recover onto Kyrie in the corner, and Tim Hardaway Jr. feeds Lively down low. With Cason having covered one of his only bailout options in the corner, Lively's forced to try and score over Chet, and it doesn't exactly go too well for him. Against Dallas's high pick and rolls for Luka, they had two main goals: prevent Luka from getting space coming off the screen to create for himself, and be aggressive tagging the roll to make sure that there's no easy feeds inside. This would mean that they'd have 𝙖𝙗𝙗𝙗 Joe help off the weak side to make sure Lively gets tagged, and in this situation, it gives up a Josh Green corner 3. But this allowed them to focus on making Luka as uncomfortable as possible and denying anything to Gafford and Lively inside, and instead it forced guys like Josh Green and Derrick Jones Jr. to have to convert on their open shots. We really saw Chet Holmgren's ability to guard both the ball handler and the roll man in the pick and roll, containing 𝙖𝙗𝙤𝙪 and shading him into the strong side help, while making sure to make contact with Gafford on the roll, but still being able to recover onto 𝙖𝙗𝙤𝙪 and block the layup when he goes up. Here, he gives 𝙖𝙗𝙗 enough time to recover and make Luka uncomfortable, and even though Luka gets the lob off, Chet still manages to get up and disrupt what would have been a monster dunk. When Chet would have to cover the ball handler while J-Dub recovers, it would leave Gafford open on the roll, but OKC countered that by having Shai slot in as the low man to be able to have at least a chance at contesting the shot to try and force a miss. When Chet was operating with Dort defending the pick and roll, it made it even more difficult for Luka having to deal with this rear view defense by Dort. Dort's aggressiveness fighting over screens is going to allow OKC to have a much better chance of drawing illegal screen calls like Dort does here when Luka takes off to use the screen before Gafford actually has the chance to get set. OKC didn't just get the job done on the defensive end either. We got to see their quick hitting, knifing offense in action. One of the ways that Dallas was trying to prevent Shai from leveraging his driving threat was by providing heavy nail help, using Josh Green playing off of Jalen Williams to keep Shai from going middle and collapsing the defense. But if Jalen Williams is hitting his threes, OKC is going to take that shot all day long. On this possession, you're going to see Mark Daignault making all sorts of hand motions, and he wants OKC to execute one of their plays push. It's going to have Cason Wallace and Chet move over to the right side of the floor, and while they're doing that, Gordon Hayward is going to come up and set the screen for Shai, allowing him to get going downhill. And Chet, having moved to the right side, gets Gafford pulled away from the left, and it allows Shai to get the shot up, and Gafford's going to end up getting called for the goaltend. On this play, OKC gets into a Miami action, which is just a dribble handoff followed by a player receiving a ball screen, and the Mavericks are going to switch it, with Tim Hardaway Jr. ending up on J-Dub and Green ending up on Chet instead of Dereck Lively. OKC now has some mismatches to work with, so J-Dub is going to get the ball back and get into this pick and roll with him, and it forces Lively to have to tag the roll, meaning Kyrie is now responsible for rotating onto Cason when he gets the ball. But what that does is leave Aaron Wiggins wide open in the corner for three. On this high pick and roll for J-Dub, he's going to get the switch that he wanted with Dereck Lively now on him, and he's going to go middle towards the left side of the floor. This is going to cause Luka to second guess if he needs to help Lively, and this split-second lapse in attention is going to allow Aaron Wiggins to make the backdoor cut, and J-Dub is going to thread the needle to him for the smooth reverse layup. They would go back to it again shortly after, with Aaron Wiggins getting the screen from Chet, allowing him to attack Lively and go right at him, and he's able to draw the foul and get to the line. OKC actually beat Dallas at their own game using this double drag that I mentioned earlier to get Lively switched onto Shai, and it forces PJ Washington to help off of Dort in case Shai decides to drive up the middle, and it leaves Dort plenty of space to get the pass and knock down the shot. Another thing that OKC would do is overload the strong side of the floor, having Jalen Williams and Wiggins come over, and this brings Josh Green and Gafford prepping for the pick and roll, and you can see that Shai ends up with two defenders on him, and Kyrie is left totally by himself on the weak side of the floor with two shooters spaced around him. All Shai has to do is pass it to J-Dub, and he can find Cason so he can punish the lack of help before Josh Green's able to make the rotation and contest. We'd see it happen too when Shai would draw multiple defenders on his drives, with both Chet and J-Dub pulling out to the strong side, and with Cason Wallace on the weak side baseline, Wiggins can cut into all of this space and get the shot to fall over Kyrie. OKC used these early screens to get Derrick Jones Jr. off of Shai, and it initially looks like they're just clearing out a corner for him to try and score in isolation, but the reality is that Isaiah Joe is going to loop back up the gut and get this pin down from Chet, and he's going to force Jones Jr. to chase him over this screen, and he's going to knock down the three after the pump fake. OKC also utilized their patented pin-in screens that they use early in offense, and it allowed them to generate some really easy open looks before Dallas's defense could even get set. And then, of course, in the fourth quarter, it was the transcendent shot making of Jalen Williams that really poured it on for OKC and put them over the top to turn a close game into a blowout, and it elevated OKC into taking game 1 of the series. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. That's the easiest way to support me and help me continue making content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.